Hi and welcome. I'm Angelique Roche, and I am your host, moderator, wrangler of this incredible panel of brilliant architects that I'm sitting here with to talk about an incredible crossover. Ten of Swords. And so I'm really excited because I don't know how we managed to get everyone on this screen here, but we have Jordan D. White, who's a senior editor of the X-Men line, Tini Howard, who is writer of Excalibur, Gerry Duggan, writer of Marauders and Cable, Benjamin Percy, writer Wolverine and Cable, and Vita Ayala, writer Marauders and Children of the Atom. I am so excited for all of this to happen. How is everybody doing today from your boxes?
Oh, very tired.
Well, apocalypse bunker.
I'm
and kicking
swords, so.
Yeah, how's the air out there, Tini and Jordan? And Gerry.
We're surviving. It's I would have been wearing a mask one way or the other this fall. It turns out. Yeah, we're hoping to get some rain into the forest, but things are good now.
Look, I'm also in LA. I too am hiding the LA sky behind me, so I get it. So I want to kind of get started really quickly. X of Swords is a 22-part crossover, just epic situation that's happening, and it's taking over the X books until the end of November. It's spun directly out of the X-Men world that Jonathan Hickman has so expertly built over the past year, and will be told in a similar style to other X-Men fan favorite X-Men crossovers, such as Executioner Song and Messiah Complex. I say that to say, Jordan D. White, person who has all of the secrets, can you tell folks, we know that the first 5 parts are already on the stand, but can you walk us through the biggest story beats that have occurred thus far and is kind of setting the stage to come?
Sure. So, as you said, it all grows out of stuff that seeds Jonathan planted in House of X and Powers of 10. And then that dovetailed with stuff that Tini Howard was doing in Excalibur, and it grew into something enormous and awesome. What's going on is thousands of years ago, Apocalypse was on the island of Okara, and it got split into 2, and he lost his family. And we don't know what happened. We're starting to learn a little bit more about what happened and why. But we know that he's been searching to get them back ever since in various ways, especially in the Excalibur series. And so in Ten of Swords, number 1, Ten of Swords creation number 1. Yeah, there's a lot of things to keep straight. In Ten of Swords creation number 1, he finds out that Arakko has fallen. That's the other half of the island that became Krakoa. Arakko has fallen. There's this evil army marching towards Krakoa to take everything. The X-Men go to try to stop it. They're failing miserably, and the only thing that stops them from getting completely beaten is the queen, let's say, of Otherworld, Saturnine, stopping it. Tini, what you seem like you want to say something about that. Please, please save me.
Would you like to step in, Tini?
The full title is Her Highness the Omniversal Majestrix Lady Opal Luna Saturnine, but fine, the queen.
Yes. The ruler of Otherworld. And so she stops everything and forces everyone involved to agree to what we would call a tournament, and they all have to go and find 10 swords before they can come back and fight this out. And what we also find out in X Factor number 4 is that when characters die, the X-Men, by the way, don't die. Mutants don't die. They've beaten death. Except if a mutant dies in Otherworld, it doesn't react well with the process of bringing them back. They don't come back the same. They come back completely different. That character is actually gone forever. And so the stakes got really high. They've already agreed to this tournament, but they're not really sure if they can survive it.
Wow. Can you just narrate the entire series for me? Just for the entire time. It was great.
We've been keeping so much of that in for so long that hearing Jordan say it all on a panel just felt like it's like 1962 and we just called the Russians on the phone and like gave them the codes.
It really is stressful. Like it's just like,
to hear you say it because we've been like building it and secreting it and machining it for so long. But just to hear you be like, oh yeah, and this is what's happening in the story, feels like heresy.
Illicit information.
I was going to say that's the very beginning setup, and then we did also see Wolverine go off to try to find a sword, which he did find, but also met one of the sword bearers of Araco as well, Solemn, all new character who is quite mischievous and gave him a real hard time getting that sword. We also saw Storm go off and steal a sword from Wakanda. That didn't go over well.
She's the queen of the thieves. I don't know what to tell you. And the queen of my heart.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue because I know we have a lot more to talk about. And Tini, I'm gonna throw it back over to you because I know that you got this. So you're writing the Excalibur issues of this crossover and also co-writing the Creation, Stasis and Destruction one-shots with Jonathan Hickman. Creation was amazing. And next up is Stasis, which promises to introduce the world to some more goodies that you've probably been keeping secret. What can you tease out about, I think I'm allowed to say new villains.
New characters. New players on the board.
We're really giving it away.
Yeah. What can I tease? Just one of my favorite feelings in the world is when you feel like you've conquered something, like you've gotten really good at something or you've really managed something. And then something happens and you learn that what you've done this whole time was just the first step towards something greater and larger, and what you thought was the limits of your capacity is in fact beyond. That feeling of that the characters and the readers are going to get to experience is like what I'm most excited for about people reading Stasis.
That was a very expertly right. You very narrowly avoided anything, but I'll take it. It's fine.
More than vague.
Well, okay, you know what? One thing we can say though is that we have revealed already the what I mentioned, the sword bearers of Araco. We've said their names and we've shown their images. We get to see a lot more about them in there. Which one was your favorite to learn about there, Tini?
I love Bay. We put a lot of work and love into Bay, and I think of all the sword bearers, I've gotten to write a lot of her in various things. I've gotten to spend some time with her, so I got to really know her. And then, when I answered a thing recently, I said Summoner because I love Summoner. I like Summoner. But also after writing her more, I was like, oh, I love Iska.
Iska's great too. Iska the Unbeaten.
So I love the two mean girls and the sad boy.
In a wild turn of events, I really love the big mean girl, but also the sad tree. I'm very into the sad tree.
Yeah.
Red Root's so good.
Yeah.
Just hug.
Well, I'm going to throw this over to Benjamin. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hope some of these characters get out of this unsorted. We'll see.
Right. That's the problem. Is the world gonna fall in love with them and be like, well, it's a tournament. Not everyone can win.
So I'm going to toss it over to Ben. You're writing both the X-Force and Wolverine chapters in the crossover, which is your latest issue of Wolverine, issue number 6, is on stands this week. It introduced the world to Wolverine's brand new arch nemesis, who we just mentioned, I think, a little bit for 2 whole seconds. Can you tell us a little bit more about this mischievous, hard time giving character that you're developing out?
Sure. I mean, even though there are world-ending stakes to this event, to this crossover, one of the great things about it is that it is additive. We're not only threatening to tear everything down, but we're building things up. And the X-Men toy box just got that much bigger. And one of the characters, the many characters introduced, is Solemn. And Solemn is not only going to play a central role in this crossover, but in the mainline Wolverine series to come. If you think of him as a kind of Loki to Wolverine's Thor, he has that mischievous about him. He has a trickster quality. There's so many turns in the plot to come that it'll make your head snap. And there is also the reveal that he, as the sword bearer of Arakko, is not only the champion that Wolverine needs to face, but he is also, he has, even though he has sort of like an opposing emotional stance, an opposing personality to Wolverine's, they're very much the same when it comes to their composition. And adamantium is on a microfibrous level, shielding him from any attack.
Wow. All right.
Also, I haven't told you yet, looking at you, but those issues are so good, and I love Solemn so much.
They're super cool, and I mean, again, one of the things that people learned in I think in that Wolverine issue is about his backstory and about how even though he's fighting for Arakko, it's not like he gets along with everybody on his side. So
he's ultimately fighting for himself.
Yeah,
I respect that, honestly. I really do.
Well, Vita, after Ten of Swords is wrapped, actually, I'm going to hold that one. I got another question about Marauders before we get there. I'm so excited about Children of the Atom that I just jumped my questions. But tell us how does Wakanda get into this? Because do we just decide, just everybody gets it? Like everyone needs to be included?
Well, what we wanted to do with kind of a Storm-centric chapter is explore more than just going to get a sword, right? It was, to me and to Gerry and to everyone in the room, because we're all very collaborative, right? So we all talked it through. But to us, we wanted to kind of explore why she in particular is the right choice to be a sword bearer for, the X-Men or for Earth, for everyone. The shield against all the nonsense that's coming from this other place. And to me, that's tied into her relationship, not just with mutant kind, but with humankind as well. And, she's always been a protector. She's always been, she was a goddess. She's been someone who, I mean, is larger than life. And I thought, well, how do you explore that in a way that's interesting and isn't just like Storm wins right away? It doesn't matter. 2 pages, we're done here. She has a sword now. And I was like, well, the way to complicate it is to complicate it emotionally. And how do we do that? Well, she was married, wasn't she? She's married to some guy, ran some sort of nation, maybe possibly also space. And so, I thought, and we all thought that the way to approach this issue was to make sure that the emotional stakes were as high as any particular physical states, especially because we're not getting into the tournament yet. So that was really like what was behind that for me. And Wakanda is a place both of aspiration, but also of mystery. And so I thought I'll take a shot at that.
So now I get to. Oh, go ahead, Tina.
We can talk about it openly, right? That one's been out at this
that
point.
one's out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just was so obsessed with the storytelling language of when she switches her costume.
Yeah. I really wanted to do some fun stuff in there that wasn't just like the captions and stuff. And so with the costume, I thought, well, she's a diplomat as well as being the former regent of this place. She is on friendly terms, but she is asking a favor. All right, well, let's dress her in white because she's going, under a flag of truce. She's literally wearing that. She's like, this is not, I want to be as, as clear as I possibly and as openly as I possibly can be. And then, of course, she becomes a thief in the night. And I was like, you got to reverse that now, just all black. Can't see her.
Love it.
Also an excuse to do her hair. I thought that was a fun thing. As many different hairstyles as I can possibly get for Storm in anything is great. But there was also something not just about the practicality of having the hair up, but also of like it being the only thing that you could really see when she's in the dark costume that's so like brilliantly white. I thought that was really fun. And it's a crown, right? She's wearing a crown.
You and Mateo are such a great team on that.
Yeah,
I had a great time. Thanks for letting me like double dutch in real quick for an issue. That was super fun.
That's the cool thing about the Ten of Swords is that it's like going to see your favorite band, and midway through the concert, everyone sort of gets up and changes instruments. Someone's pushing over a stack of amps. Someone else is playing keyboards. And all the artists are showing off. I mean, it's they're really. It's very inspiring to be around so many artists that are trying to dunk on each other and leave the rim on the floor. It's Phil Noto put on a show in a couple of different chapters, and Josh is doing amazing work. Everyone's doing
career best work.
It's really incredible to watch.
Blowing up our inboxes.
And wait, listen, I got some pages from Pepe this morning.
I was going to say, Jordan, I saw Pepe pages this morning.
That's great.
That are like, he's like, sorry, this is taking so long. Like, how have you done this at all?
It's amazing. Pepe Larraz is absolutely killing this.
Were they the pages that he was angry at us for?
That was among them.
Fair.
Sorry, Pepe. Love you.
Well, this excitement also goes to another venture. Vita, you have some new news, a new exciting line that folks know about, but I'm really excited that it's after you've wrapped this up, it's on its way. What can you tease about this new team of heroes and how they're going to be interacting with the X-Men, friend? Because I'm really excited about it.
My sweet children. I love them so much. I'm so glad that the world is going to meet them. I'm not sure how much I can say that wasn't already said, like in the former press, so I can kind of reiterate some of that stuff. I mean, these kids are they're like us in a way. Like they grew up with the X-Men. They grew up with mutants, like in the media and all over the place. And they're the kids that like they're having those arguments in the comic book shop about which mutant can beat like what Avenger and all that kind of stuff. Like they think that the X-Men are the coolest in the same way that like the younger generation looks at stuff from the older generation and goes, y'all had it wrong. Like all the things that you hated, you're wrong. They're good. Like all the things that make us different are great. And so like that's kind of the base that these kids are working from. And then also they get into a ton of trouble because that's what children do. They get into so much trouble and it's very stressful. I guess, I mean, it's not a secret, but like there will be X-Men in the book floating in and out. So you'll get to see them interact with some of your favorite characters, which is really awesome. Again, thanks for that. Thanks for letting me borrow more mutants.
Well, can we?
All of ours now. It's less borrowing and more like, I'm taking your Storm toy, Gerry. I'll give her back. Like,
I promise I won't scuff the paint.
It's not borrowing. She's just mine for today.
Well, another question.
Were meant to be shared. Yeah.
Another question we got. So, do we expect any interaction with the New Mutant series, which you'll also be writing at all?
Oh, Jordan, I don't know what I can say.
Well,
Jordan, what can she say?
It's clear that that's multiple groups of young characters in the X world. So you never know.
You never know. What I will say is that working on one series has mentally informed working on the other. And sometimes that means like literally like character stuff, but also sometimes it's like, how do these two series complement what's going on with the rest of the X world while still maintaining their own identity? And so that's a lot of fun mental math that I'm playing with. But I don't know, man, if I could just throw the New Mutants and everything, I would. So.
You become the principal of the X group. These
kids are stressing me out. I got more gray hairs. Just getting into trouble at all times.
Give Vita all the kids.
Give me the kids. I still have that feral energy. I don't know. I'm too old for it, but still. Give me all the ferals.
So a little bit of switching away from kids. Gerry, you're primarily working on Marauders and the Cable chapters. And within the saga, what can you tell us about Cable, who is not a kid.
Well, he kind of is actually right now. He is currently a teenager, actually.
Here's the thing. Cable is historically an old guy, but Cable, the great thing, we've been talking a lot about inexperienced heroes. They make mistakes, or they do things impulsively that are really gifts for writers. That if I write Cyclops or Captain America, chances are they know exactly their way out of the jam that we're trying to put them in. The kids don't always do that. We inherited a younger kid, Cable, on the way into John's story in House of X. And, we've been trying to give all these characters gifts, and hopefully by extension, the fans gifts. Well, Kid Cable now is getting his chance to be, a Summers in a way that he never really was. But now the chips are down, and Krakoa needs its champions, and he is one of the champions. So he will try to rise to the occasion in this story. You've just read Cable 5, right?
No, it's not out yet. Cable 5 isn't out yet.
Well, let me tell you how great Cable 5 is.
It's a good one.
I can't talk about it. It's the Phil Noto show, though. Phil is doing the line art, the colors, it's digital paints. He's never been better. And there's a very important thing that happens that we won't talk about that will introduce an element into the story that I think, to Ben's point earlier, is very additive. And then actually Ben and I are sort of jamming on some of the middle issues together. It was partly a matter of practicality on the clock. When we pivoted post-COVID into a larger Ten of Swords story, we thought rather than me do a draft and pass it to Ben to do notes to back and forth, we would sort of just get in there and wrench on it together. And that was honestly the real reason to do it. Is it's fun, writing such a solitary job usually that anytime you can get into a writer's room and have fun, you do that.
But it captures the spirit of the whole X group in that, from day one, we've been writing individual stories, but we've also been writing this larger story together. So in that same spirit, we put our heads together for these two issues.
Yeah, that's kind of been like the whole experience in the X room in general. I mean, everything that is Ten of Swords came out of the fact that when I was telling us, when I realized I wanted to tell a story about Apocalypse, and Jonathan was like, oh, that fits in with stuff I want to do with Apocalypse, I think a lot of writers in a lot of rooms would be like, okay, Tini, so pick something else. And that wasn't the case at all. And it also wasn't like, okay, so if you want to do that, you have to move my way. It was just we were all doing, and it happens all the time. We're all just doing what we want to do. And because we all are both, friends who have similar sensibilities and different sensibilities also that bounce off of each other. And also because we're all practiced writers who understand the rules and the beats and the pace of the narrative, we often just end up it's like when you're running, you sometimes just end up falling in line running with someone else, and you're like, oh, hey, we're going the same direction, we're running together now, and it's not prescriptive. It's not it's just we have so little ego with each other. We just sit around and rap, and when things are good, we're like, no, that's the bad one. We're gonna try a different idea. And when things are good, we gas each other up, and we support each other in our narratives every way we can. It's exciting to us to be like, oh, you're going to do that with that character? Awesome. I was going to have them help so-and-so, and now I'll have them acting weird when they do it. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Tini, I had forgotten that Jonathan put tarot stuff in House of X. I was just reminded of that earlier today. I totally forgot that was already a thing. It's crazy the way it works. Yeah.
Never didn't have it, as Vita said.
Never didn't have it.
Never didn't have it.
All right, so I have a question for the whole group. In a recent press release, Marvel revealed this story's key art, promising that at some point in the story, readers are going to be treated to this spectacular battle between the X-Men and the Sword Bearers. And that event is The events of this tale are going to have a lasting impact on the future of the X-Men, forever changing the fate of the franchise's most prominent characters. I got to read it like that so I make sure that I don't say anything wrong. We can't reveal everything, hence me trying not to say anything wrong. But can you give us any hints on who's going to be most impacted by this story?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Here's one thing I can say. The X-Men proper as a team is going to be hugely impacted by this. Which I think that's definitely the biggest thing that comes out of this is the X-Men team itself is very affected. And if you think really hard about the X-Men team in the Dawn of X era, that might raise some questions for you, but I think that this will answer them.
Yeah, all stories, right, are change, or you want to see your characters, your story change and grow. And I know this is crazy. This feels like it will be regarded as bigger, maybe even than House of X and Powers of 10. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but who knows.
I mean, I think there's there's going to be a pretty important takeaway in almost every book. Like, yes. I mean, it's not, if you're reading the collected editions, let's say of any one title, like you're going to need to read this regardless of which series you're reading. You're going to need to go, oh, between this volume and that volume, I got to make sure to read Ten of Swords because huge stuff will change for them.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, I think that was one of the really cool things was that like it felt less like, okay, we're building an event, everyone. We need to build things that we get into it and things that we get out of it. It was like, just like, so you're doing that? Well, like that's going to affect so-and-so. So it's like, I think every single one of us like and people that aren't even in this room too, like have characters that it's like, oh, that's going to be irrevocably changed. And that will be the biggest thing going forward for my book. But I know that's the great thing about the island, right? Like it's Westchester on a bigger scale. They all get to live together again and have, drama.
The opportunity to seed so much of the cool stuff that we want to do anyway in this series in a way that like, you don't have to know any of it going in. You can just read the series, but then when you continue reading what we put out, you can go back and go, oh snap, there it is. And it's not all necessarily stuff that's like linked to the swords or anything like that, or even to the event. It's just interwoven together. Yeah, working in this room is like living on Krakoa. It's great.
Well, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their schedule and giving us even the slightest bit of information that you can give us. And I encourage everybody to please go read all of the issues that are out right now. Jordan, do you want to give that like a good like end note on just like encouraging people obviously to go and read this magnificent story?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, you haven't seen the scope of this thing yet. It started pretty big. That's not how big it gets. It gets a lot bigger and a lot crazier. And like I said, when you see these pages Pepe Larraz is working on, you're gonna praise him just as much as we did. You want to read this whole thing.
Great. I thank you so much. And I think that's all the time we have. I know we want to say more, but go pick up the books.
Just keep coming.
Thanks for being
just
here, everybody.
weirder.
Thanks, guys. Be safe. Thank you.